Congress did actually pass another law, and it was sort of a codification of executive order, the authorization for use of military force.
Yep.
And the key thing for that is it said that, and basically some and substance of it is that if the U.S. government, they gave authorization for the U.S. government to take any actions necessary to combat terrorism, and that includes not just the terrorist groups, but any groups that are tied to any type of terrorist activity. So back then you were looking at Al-Qaeda and ISIS and these other groups that were over in the Middle East. But as we'll talk about, that was also used to target other groups that were funding them. They were targeting groups inside Afghanistan that were growing the poppy fields that were used to fund ISIS and the Taliban and Al-Qaeda. And so they were authorized use to go in and destroy those fields. Even though there was no actual threat, that was money that was being used to fund these terrorist groups.
And for those of you who don't remember,
you should.
After 9/11, there was a sweeping move to push through this kind of legislation to grant extraordinary powers to the executive branch, the Patriot Acts and all that stuff. And this is just one of those things that came out of it where, we look at Article 1 and Article 2, which we should, because that's the foundation. What have been the legislative pieces that have been put into place since then, which will tell us today what's going on with these quote unquote narco-terrorist boats. Is it authorized? Is it legal? The morality of it is not for me to say, Lou to say, anyone to say. We're just telling, we wanted to get on and convey to you guys, everyone who's out there listening and watching, and thank you very much for doing so. Hit like, subscribe.
Exactly. Got to get that plug in.
We do. But all of this is really about what's the legality? What are the foundational pieces here? And is this something that is constitutional or?
Exactly. We can debate, and Rob have the political efficacy of what's going on as far as, is this something that it's not, can he, but is this something that he should be doing? And is this something that morally, is it acceptable? And then politically, is it something that he should be doing? Putting that aside and just looking at this solely from the legality of it and the constitutionality of it, my opinion, my opinion after reviewing this and having been in these type of things, and I was telling Rob before we went in here, I went back and pulled out my old law of war books when I was overseas and giving the use of force briefings and giving all these things. And actually, classes I took down at the Naval War College and the Naval Justice School and the National Defense University, all that kind of stuff. And this is all stuff that came into play. But the one key thing here is that authorization for use of military force has been challenged on a number of occasions in courts. And the courts have always said, well, yes, we're going to limit it in this certain way as far as military tribunals. And it had to deal with Gitmo and the establishment of the military tribunals and how it would operate and things like that. But as far as the actual operation and the use of military forces, the president has essentially plenary authority. And going back to the War Powers Resolution, the War Powers Act, that all it requires is that the president notify Congress and tells them what's going on. Congress then has the responsibility to act on their own. If they want to stop this, then they could remove funding from it. They could say, we don't agree with this. We're gonna move funding. But the one thing that the Supreme Court has reviewed on this is said, well, yes, that's great, but that once money is allocated, the president could pull funds from other things and use it to support it. So really,
right,
on that aspect, the War Powers Resolution doesn't really come into play here.